Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
Asher stood at the edge of the bustling marketplace, his heart racing with excitement and curiosity. The vibrant colors and unfamiliar scents of the alien bazaar overwhelmed his senses. Stalls lined the street, showcasing exotic fruits, garments woven from materials that shimmered like starlight, and, most alluring of all, strange beings from distant worlds. This was everything he had hoped for when he set foot on this vibrant, distant planet. His gaze wandered, taking in the diverse forms of life around him. Some creatures bore scales, others feathers, each one unique. Yet amidst the chaos, someone caught his eye. A woman stood within a makeshift enclosure, her captivating presence drawing in a crowd. Her skin glimmered like the smooth surface of a pearl, luminous and strangely inviting. She wore an ornate collar that gleamed under the sunlight, a beautiful, haunting accessory that also hinted at something much darker. He pushed closer, driven by an inexplicable urge. As he approached, he caught snippets of the auctioneer's voice, barking numbers and rattling off the bids as eager spectators eyed the exquisite alien woman. Asher felt a swift pang of indignation and sadness wash over him. How could they value her like an object at a fair? The more he observed her, the more captivated he became. Her eyes, a striking hue of violet, shone with a mixture of defiance and resignation. In that moment, he realized this was no ordinary auction. It was a trade, a transaction devoid of empathy. He couldn't bear it. The thrill of exploration suddenly dulled as moral outrage took its place. In a moment of reckless bravery, Asher decided he could not stand by. He moved through the throng, pushing toward the front, heart pounding louder than the shouts of the auctioneer. He raised his hand, calling out the bid, his voice shaky but resolute. A number emerged from his lips, a number he barely had, but was willing to sacrifice everything for. The crowd stirred, and the auctioneer paused, surprised. "We have a contender," he exclaimed, moving his gaze toward Asher. Asher's heart raced at the sudden attention, but he pressed on, determined to win this woman's freedom. 2,300 credits. Asher shouted, his voice firmer now, filled with conviction. There was a moment of shocked silence, and then bidding resumed. The crowd began to murmur, a mix of scorn and intrigue. To his astonishment, the bids fell, and soon he found himself alone in the arena, the auctioneer's gavel striking down with finality. Asher had won. Dread mingled with elation as the implications dawned on him. He was now the owner of this remarkable being. As the crowd dispersed, he approached her, a swell of conflicting emotions surging within him. With trembling hands, Asher reached towards her collar, the symbol of her captivity. "I'll remove this," he declared, almost to himself as he wrapped his fingers around the cool metal. She looked at him, wide-eyed, a mix of surprise and disbelief evident across her face. Before he could second-guess himself, he unclasped the collar, and it slipped from her throat. In an instant, the air felt heavier, charged with a magic both exhilarating and terrifying. "What have you done?" she breathed, her eyes now wide with realization. He stepped back, an uneasy mixture of triumph and trepidation settling in. He had just freed her, but the gravity of what he had done lingered like a shadow. "You're free," he stammered, unsure if it was he or she who needed reassurance. The world around them faded into a blur, and in that moment, the fate of both their lives intertwined. Nora stared at the collar that lay in Asher's palm, its gleam now duller, a symbol of her liberation, but also a harbinger of uncertainty. The marketplace buzzed around them, vendors shouting to attract fresh customers, but a deafening silence enveloped their small bubble. "You removed my collar," she said, voice barely above a whisper. The weight of those words sank into Asher's chest. What had he done? "Yes," he replied, trying to muster confidence. "You're free now." "But you have no idea what that means," she continued, surprise now morphing into confusion, tinged with a sliver of hope. "In my culture, by removing my collar, you have declared myself your husband, yes?" Asher interrupted, realization dawning on him. He had unwittingly bound himself to a woman from a world he didn't understand. Panic flickered in his chest. He had always been a man of adventure, not commitment. I didn't mean for this to happen. Intentions matter little in matters of law. Her expression shifted from confusion to a mix of horror and intrigue. You are an anomaly here. This could mean great danger for both of us. Danger. Their surroundings suddenly felt much larger. Asher looked around, noting every watchful gaze and the myriad of figures coming in and out of frame. Why? What are they going to do? My previous owner will not take kindly to this, she explained, her voice steadying as the reality of her situation seeped in. I was his property, and now that ownership has changed. He could see this as a challenge. Asher felt anger flare in his chest. The notion of anyone treating Nora like an object stirred something deep within him. I won't let him hurt you. We can leave. I'll protect you. Nora regarded him, uncertainty still lingering in her eyes. You don't understand. This is my life, my people. They won't allow you to take me from them. You don't know the laws of my planet. All I know is that you deserve to be free, he insisted, feeling a strange surge of belonging, as though he had been swept into a cause greater than himself. Nora hesitated, her features a portrait of conflict. Freedom is not without consequences, Asher. My kin are bound by strict codes. They may come for me, and they will not differentiate between us. If we are to be together, we must first navigate this world together. Asher met her gaze, determination hardening his resolve. Despite the enormity of their predicament, an alien he barely knew and the gravity of their newfound union, he felt a strange connection. Then we'll figure it out together. I won't abandon you. A flicker of admiration softened her features, and suddenly, the world seemed less daunting. You are brave, human. Perhaps foolish too. Call it what you want. He smiled, a hint of confidence returning. But I'd rather face danger with you than alone. With a decisive movement, she took his hand, and the warmth of her touch sent a shiver down his spine. Together, they turned from the market, leaving behind the chaos and moving into a maze of narrow alleys and hidden passageways. As they walked, Nora guided him, her confidence returning with each step. Who am I now? She mused softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I've been on my entire life. I don't even know who I am outside of that collar. Asher paused, cupping her face gently in his hand. You're Nora, he said firmly, gazing into her violet eyes. You're brave and strong. This is your chance to discover who you are. She studied him, and in that moment, he felt the vulnerability that coiled within her. It mirrored his own insecurities, amplified by the weight of their circumstances. The path ahead was murky, but Asher and Nora forged onward, with hands entwined. They began a journey into the unknown, one that held the promise for self-discovery, danger, and perhaps something deeper. As they ventured into the heart of the alien city, Asher couldn't shake the feeling that their encounter was fated. He would stand by Nora, not only as her husband, but as her ally, no matter the trials ahead. Asher and Nora navigated the labyrinthine streets, filled with the enticing aromas of alien delicacies and the colorful spectacle of life. The vibrant marketplace was soon left behind, replaced by quieter alleys, where the unfamiliar sights seemed almost intimate. Yet despite the warm atmosphere, an underlying tension gripped Asher's heart, a reminder of the weighty responsibilities that now rested upon his shoulders. Where are we going? He asked, glancing sideways at Nora, who walked with purpose, her gaze scanning their surroundings. The sanctuary, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. It is a safe place for my kind, a refuge from those who might wish to harm us. We can regroup there. As they walked, an undercurrent of curiosity bubbled within Asher. What's it like? This sanctuary? It is a place of respite, away from the brutality of the marketplace, she said, her brows furrowing in thought. There, the old ways are honored. It holds the wisdom of my ancestors, but it is also a place of customs, and it will judge us. Judge us. Nora's gaze softened, yet it also darkened, shadowed by memories. The bonds we form in my society are sacred, she explained. They are not mere agreements. They are commitments with deep spiritual significance. They will expect something from you from us. What do you mean? Asher stopped, turning to face her, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. What are they going to demand? They will test our resolve as partners, Nora replied, her voice steady. Our compatibility will be examined, our willingness to embrace both the joys and the duties of this union. You may be asked to prove your commitment to our ways. Asher felt a flicker of apprehension. He had never envisioned himself as part of an alien society, much less participating in their customs. But the sharp intensity of her situation weighed on him. I'm willing to try, whatever it takes to keep you safe. Nora nodded, a smile breaking through her apprehension. There is strength in your resolve. But be prepared. The trials may challenge you in ways you do not expect. They soon arrived at a grand archway, framed by vines that seemed to dance like emerald flames under the sun. As they crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted. The air felt cooler, imbued with serene quality that calmed Asher's racing heart. They stepped into a sacred garden, lush with vibrant flora and fauna that shimmered with bioluminescence even in daylight. Welcome to the sanctuary, Nora said softly, her voice filled with reverence. Here we find solace. Asher took a deep breath, letting the atmosphere envelop him. Tall, elegant trees surrounded them, and in the distance, he could hear the melodious hum of singing creatures, their voices rising like a symphony. Before long, they reached a circular gathering place where others from Nora's kin began to gather. Mixed emotions flickered across Nora's face. Excitement mingled with unease. As they stepped into the circle, curious eyes turned towards them, and whispers of conversation rippled through the crowd. Nora's expression grew serious as she prepared to address them. People of my kind, she began. I stand before you as one newly freed from ownership, now joined by my husband, Asher, who has risked everything to liberate me. We come seeking your guidance. The crowd murmured, expressions shifting between suspicion and curiosity. Asher felt the weight of their gaze upon him, searching for flaws, assessing his worth. Are you prepared to embrace our customs, human? An elder's voice rang out. The figure stepping forward wore garb made of shimmering fibers, accentuating their dignified presence. This is no mere human whim. Our ways are sacred, and your presence changes everything. Absolutely, Asher responded, feeling a burning determination rise within him. I am committed to understanding what it means to be a part of this. I want to understand Nora, her culture, and how we can forge a bond that honors both of us. The elder tilted their head, observing him keenly. Very well. But know this, young human. Your belief in your commitment will be tested. If you tread carelessly, you may lose not only her but yourself in the process. Asher met the elder's gaze, unwavering. I will do what it takes. The assembly began to form a circle around them, and Nora stepped closer, seemingly empowered by his conviction. What must I do? Asher asked, glancing at Nora's encouraging smile. The first trial is of trust, the elder explained, gesturing to the crowd. You must submit to them as they test your resolve. Only then will you earn your right to stand by her side. Asher swallowed hard, but he caught Nora's encouraging nod, bolstering his courage. The elder stepped forward, and the crowd responded, forming a narrow path, allowing two figures to join them at the forefront. Asher looked at Nora, who squeezed his hand gently. You can do this, she reassured him, pride shining in her eyes. As the first challenge commenced, the crowd presented a series of tests, ranging from questions about each other's preferences and beliefs to practical challenges that tested their teamwork. The atmosphere pulsated with anticipation as laughter erupted at their clumsy attempts and tension healed with the shared joy of discovery. Through the amidst laughter and growing warmth, Asher began to learn about Nora's world, its traditions, quirks, and the depth of her resilience. Each challenge unveiled layers of their personalities, weaving their fates closer together. As they approached the final trial, a sense of unity enveloped them, filling Asher with a determination to conquer whatever lay ahead. Surrounded by Nora's people, new allies perhaps, he stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. With Nora by his side, Asher knew that no matter the obstacles, their journey was just beginning. And in the heart of this gathering, he felt the stirrings of love and a shared destiny blossoming between them. The vibrant strains of laughter echoed through the sanctuary as the final trial drew to a close. Asher felt a sense of exhilaration wash over him, the challenges fostering a connection that bound him to Nora, and by extension, her people. As the laughter faded, he exchanged glances filled with unspoken understanding. This place was becoming a home, if only for a moment. But as the celebrations of triumph continued, a ripple of discord began to weave through the crowd. The suspicion that had lingered since they arrived returned, unwelcome and invasive, creeping back into the circle like a storm cloud. "Nora!" A voice called from the fringes, sharp and accusative. The assembly parted, revealing a tall figure with piercing eyes and a posture filled with arrogance. He was dressed in luxurious garments, threads of deep crimson that hinted at his elevated status. Asher's heart sank. The owner of Nora's collar had finally arrived. "Zarek," Nora whispered, her expression hardening. "I didn't think you would dare venture here." "Of course you didn't," he replied, voice dripping with contempt. "You wouldn't expect your little rebellion to go unnoticed, would you?" An uneasy hush fell over the crowd as the tension simmered, charged with the weight of old grievances. Zarek stepped closer, eyes narrowing as they landed on Asher. "And who is this human? Have you truly lost your mind, Nora? To forsake your kind for this creature?" "Zarek, I am no longer yours to claim," Nora said defiantly, her voice steady despite indicating the storm beneath. "You hold no power over me." "Is that so?" He chuckled, a low and mocking sound that sent shivers through the crowd. "You may think you're free, but freedom comes with consequences, and I will make sure you understand that." Asher stepped forward, feeling a protective fire ignite within him. "You don't have the right to speak to her that way. She is free now." Zarek's visage contorted with a mix of incredulity and rage. "You dare challenge me, human? You know nothing of our ways. You think she can simply walk away from her obligations without backlash? Your ignorance is stunning." "I may be new to your customs," Asher replied, his voice steady, "but I care about Nora. I will not let anyone, least of all you, scare her into submission." The crowd murmured, their eyes shifting between Asher and Zarek. Asher could feel the tension tightening, as if the air itself were holding its breath. Zarek laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "Very well, then. If you wish to take on my challenge, I will gladly grant you a chance to prove yourself. Defend her if you truly believe in this foolish union." "What do you propose?" Asher demanded, a mixture of resolve and dread flaring in his chest. "Simple," Zarek replied smoothly, gesturing dramatically to the crowd. "We will duel by the customs of our people. If you win, you may keep her. If you lose," his lips curved into a cruel smile, "I will take her back, and you will be a distant memory in her life." Asher's heart raced at the prospect, fear sizzling in his stomach. "What are the stakes?" Nora seized his arm, her voice pleading yet firm. "Asher, you don't have to do this. We can leave. We can escape." "You shouldn't have to go back to him," he insisted, locking eyes with her. "I won't let that happen." The elder stepped forward, sensing the rising tension. "A duel is a grave matter. The outcome will irrevocably alter your fates. Think carefully." "I do not back down from any challenge," Asher replied, determination shining through his uncertainty. "I will face him." Zarek nodded in satisfaction, his expression one of malicious glee. "The challenge will take place at dawn, under the eyes of the elders and those gathered here today. Prepare yourself, human. I will give you a fight worthy of your incompetence." As he withdrew, dropping the last of his scorn like a dark shadow behind him, Nora's eyes filled with worry. "You didn't have to accept his challenge. This isn't your fight." "It is now," Asher replied, feeling a surge of adrenaline course through him. "I won't let him take you back. No more ownership. No more collars." "But you don't understand. He is skilled. You're up against the best fighters our society has to offer," she warned, concern slicing through her voice. "You can't possibly win." He caught the tremor in her tone and faltered for a moment, doubt creeping in. But he exhaled slowly, calming himself. "I've faced my own demons before. I had to fight for myself at home, and now I fight for you." Nora looked at him, vulnerability flickering within her gaze. Don't do this for me because you feel you must. Do it because you want to. I want to do this for us, because we deserve a future, he insisted, squeezing her hand tightly. The connection between them thrummed with energy, a mixture of defiance and hope interwoven with fear. In the hours leading up to dawn, Asher trained with determination, practicing movements that felt foreign yet exhilarating, as other warriors from the sanctuary offered their guidance. Each lesson forged a link between him and Nora's people, each strike striking down not only doubt, but forging a newfound respect. As dawn broke, casting golden rays across the sanctuary, the moment of reckoning was nigh. As he lined up next to the circle of spectators, a fierce determination burned in his chest. He was fighting not just for Nora's freedom, but for their shared future. Standing across from Zarek, Asher took a deep breath. His muscles tensed, heart pounding as the world around him faded away. This was his moment, and regardless of the outcome, he would face it head-on. With Nora watching, he took a step forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. Asher stood over Zarek, breathless and filled with adrenaline. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices a chorus of approval. Nora's face was a mixture of disbelief and elation. He had done it. He had won. But before he could fully process his triumph, Zarek glared up at him, rage boiling beneath the surface. This isn't over, human. You may have bested me today, but the laws of our people run deeper than you understand. Asher stepped back, heart pounding, but the elder raised a hand, silencing Zarek's threats. You fought valiantly, they declared, addressing Asher. But freedom comes with challenges yet to face. Nora must choose how she wishes to live her life now. Nora stepped closer to Asher, shoulders squared. I choose to be with Asher, she stated firmly, her eyes meeting his with a blend of gratitude and longing. In that moment, the crowd recognized the bond they shared, powerful and undeniable. As cheers erupted again, Asher turned to Nora. We won, but I didn't just fight for your freedom. I fought for us, for what could be. There's something between us, something I want to explore fully. Nora blushed, the vulnerability in her gaze revealing depths of her feelings. You mean mating, he said, the word hanging between them. To truly become partners in every sense. Nora nodded slowly, hope igniting in her eyes. I want that too, but it is traditionally decided after much consideration. The customs can be intricate. Then let's navigate them together, he urged, determination radiating from him. You deserve to define your own path. The elders conferred softly amongst themselves, their wise expressions imbued with approval. Very well, the leading elder finally spoke. Tonight, a ceremony will honor your union. It will take place under the full light of the moons, signifying your commitment. Asher felt a wave of relief wash over him. Thank you, he murmured, looking at Nora, who smiled brightly. The day passed in a blur of preparation, Asher and Nora exchanging anecdotes and laughter amidst their shared tasks. It felt natural, each task pulling them closer together, crafting a web of intimacy and anticipation. As the sun began to set, the air took on a magical quality. The sanctuary transformed into a luminous spectacle as lights twinkled from the flora, illuminating the ceremony space. Various members of Nora's people arrived, adorned in radiant attire, each appearing eager to witness the significance of the occasion. Nora looked breathtaking, her skin aglow with the bioluminescent attire they had fashioned for her, delicate and flowing, amplifying her grace. Asher felt a rush of pride and protectiveness, a sensation cementing the bond they were now cultivating. The elder initiated the ceremony, their voice steady and captivating. Tonight, we gather to witness the joining of two souls from disparate worlds. This is not only a union of flesh, but also of promise and shared destinies. Asher's heart soared. He took Nora's hands in his, feeling the warmth of her skin, a comfort that grounded him as they pledged their devotion in front of an audience filled with love and support. From this day forth, we choose each other, Asher vowed, gazing into Nora's vibrant eyes. In every struggle and joy, in every challenge and triumph, we will face them as one. Nora's voice quivered but was filled with strength. "And I vow to honor you and our connection, to embrace the love that binds us through time and space." The air around them thrummed with energy as they shared their first kiss, a gentle introduction that blossomed into something more profound, binding them together in the moment of their commitment. As the crowd erupted in cheers, Asher finally understood. This connection could transcend the differences between their worlds, turning the raw magic of their mating into a lasting alliance. It was only the beginning, but in that moment, everything felt right. Under the glow of twin moons, Asher and Nora stood hand in hand, surrounded by the vibrant gathering of her people. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with the scent of fragrant blooms and the soft glow of luminescent creatures fluttering nearby. As the elder continued with the binding ritual, Nora's heart raced. The words spoken were ancient, each syllable resonating with the gravity of their union. Asher squeezed her hand, grounding her in the moment, his gaze unwavering and full of warmth. "We will honor the traditions of our people," the elder announced, "as we blend customs from both worlds to celebrate this union." They gestured toward a circle of offerings, fruits from Nora's planet, and items given by Asher that reflected his earthly heritage, a symbol of their merging lives. Asher exchanged a glance filled with understanding and excitement with Nora. "We're creating our own customs, starting our own journey," he whispered, and she nodded, her heart swelling with affection. Each participant stepped forward, offering gifts to the couple, tokens representing wisdom, strength, and love. Asher accepted these gifts with gratitude, mindful of the deep significance behind each one. He noted how warmly they embraced him, no longer just a stranger, but a part of their community. Once the offerings were made, the elder took a moment to acknowledge the shared history that brought them here. Mating is a sacred bond, not merely an arrangement, but a promise. As you stand united tonight, may you learn and grow from each other. A profound stillness enveloped them, holding the weight of promises yet to be fulfilled. As the elder raised their hands toward the sky, the gathering murmured in anticipation, a signal of the celestial energies aligning. "Let this union be blessed by the moons and the spirits of our ancestors," the elder proclaimed. "Let your love ignite the worlds around you." Nora turned to Asher, her eyes shimmering with resolve. "This is just the beginning," she murmured, leaning in closer. "Together, we can make a difference." Asher nodded, the weight of their commitment solidifying between them. "Yes, and we will be a bridge between our worlds." The elder continued, leading them through a series of rituals, a dance that twined their energies together, a promise of support with every shared step. As the music filled the air, they moved in rhythm, each twist and turn symbolizing not just their love, but the mingling of their cultures. With each heartbeat, Asher felt the presence of something more, an unbreakable bond solidified by their willingness to embrace each other's worlds. The laughter and joy around them blended with the deeper, emotional currents that flowed in their midst. It was an overwhelming sense of belonging. As the final notes faded, they stood with hands clasped before their community. "From this night forth, we are one," they declared in unison, voices echoing into the night. Cheers erupted, and Asher pulled Nora close, their hearts intertwined as they celebrated their new life. With the dawn's early light breaking over the horizon, Asher and Nora stepped into their new life together. The festival continued into the early hours, but eventually, they found solace under a canopy of stars, the soft glow of the twin moons illuminating their path. "Can you believe it?" Asher asked as they walked hand in hand through the serene landscape. "We did it. We actually bonded, mated, under their customs." Nora chuckled softly, amusement dancing in her eyes. "We have a lot ahead of us, but yes, we entered into something beautiful. I never dreamed I could find such acceptance and love outside of my own world." As they continued through the lush gardens surrounding the sanctuary, Asher felt a sense of peace wash over him. "I've realized that love means truly understanding one another. We will face challenges, both in our relationship and our worlds, but together we will find a way," he vowed. Nora leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. "We will navigate the complexities of our union, but we cannot forget that love thrives in the differences we bring." The glance shared between them felt loaded with promise, a future filled with exploration and growth. They had forged a bond transcending their backgrounds, and there was beauty in their unique partnership. As they reached a clearing by the water, Nora knelt down, dipping her fingers through the crystal-clear stream, causing ripples that danced across the surface. This water flows, just as our lives will intertwine. It signifies where we came from and where we shall go. Asher knelt beside her, the reflection of their joined hands mirrored in the flowing water. Together, they made a silent vow to cherish and protect their love, no matter the trials that lay ahead. In that moment, nestled within the beauty of both their worlds, they understood the true significance of their mating. It was the foundation of a new existence, one that celebrated their differences while embracing a shared future. With hope blossoming in their hearts, Asher and Nora stood together, welcoming the dawn of their new life, one that promised adventure, love, and the unwavering strength of their bond. Together, they would write their own story beneath the stars, forever intertwined.